Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NBA center Ryan Hollins.
Couple pump fakes, leads in, shot blocked by Ryan Hollins. Hollins sent that into the third row.
6 rebounds and 8 assists.
Hollins climbs the stairs.
Down the floor. Ryan Hollins! He is the high jumper!
That's what I want to see. Give me some gunpowder and throw the hammer down.
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Ric Bucher.
Ric Bucher.
Welcome to another episode of Bucher and Hollins, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends on the United WeCast network. I'm Ric Bucher. You can read my stuff on Bleacher Report. You can find me on Twitter at Ric Bucher. He is 10-year NBA vet. You can find him on ESPN. Ryan Hollins. You can find him on Twitter at the Ryan Hollins. I'm out of breath right now. I just ran up the stairs. I am not in game shape.
I kind of like it, man. This is live, unfiltered, uncut. Ric Bucher,
Pretty much.
come on.
There you go. By the way, you can follow the show at Bucher Friends on Twitter and Instagram. And you have places to go, people to see. So we are recording this on Wednesday afternoon before you head down to San Diego. You don't even know what teams you're prepping for, do you yet? You're just
No. You're skipping the Clippers. You're skipping the Clippers.
Oh, you got
tonight.
the Clippers.
I'm doing the game tonight.
Oh, you are.
The Clippers tonight.
Are you doing play-by-play or are you doing studio?
No, I'm color. I'm doing the real deal. I got to do real work tonight, Rick.
No, wait. So I saw parts of your first gig with Ralph Lawler. And as we talked about on the podcast, you nearly killed Ralph Lawler. There was the legend nearly went by the boards. You had potentially no one to work with. This could have been Back to the Future. And so I saw some of it. I listened to some of it, but I didn't see and hear all of it. So I'm wondering, did the incident come up on the broadcast?
Oh, no. You didn't bring it up. It didn't come about. I think me and Mrs. Lawler are trying to deep six the notion of what happened. We're all trying to forget that day. We're all trying to forget it.
Did you see Joe Lawler, his wife?
Yeah, she's always there. You cannot. No, we're good now. We're good now.
Okay.
We're good. I just think she hasn't forgotten. It's in the back of her head. She hasn't forgotten, but we're good now. So, Clippers are playing well. It's his last year. You know, Ralph couldn't ask for more, man. Go out on a high note.
So for those who don't know, when Ryan was playing with the Clippers, he was going through a pregame warm-up. He was throwing snap passes. One flew a little high, and he ended up just clocking Ralph Lawler straight in the face, knocking him off his stool while he was doing a pregame hit. The glasses went askew. We're talking about an 80-year-old man, or 70-something at least at the time. Could have been the end of Ralph Lawler, but no. Instead, Ralph is all well and good, and now Ryan has matriculated to the point where he's doing color commentary with the legend, Oh Me, Oh My, and they're working together now, and we'll be working together again tonight. This will be the second stint. Now, is this going to be a regular gig for you, or are you still on, secret probation?
No. They're gonna throw me back in the studio. We're kind of doing a bit of a round table. It may be. There's going to be a couple special callers color commentators coming in for Ralph's last year.
Okay.
But I right now I'm like the studio guy. They're letting me get my feet wet, man. Get something to remember with Ralph, man. We got to take some selfies up there next time.
So now is Corey Maggette the regular color commentary guy right now, or what's the rotation?
I think as Corey travels, he's definitely the most frequent.
Okay.
Corey travels, so he's the most frequent.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you're getting that run. And as I said, I heard and listened enough that I have no doubt that if this is something that you want to do, you're going to get more cracks at it, because you found a really nice balance. Obviously love having you on the podcast for your insight and your personality. Just don't forget us.
Come on, Rick.
Okay.
Come on, Rick. You've done the show in Orlando and in the basements and all kind of places, man. This is what we got. We sacrifice for the listeners, man.
That's true. Well said. So let's get to some of the topics that I'm sure our listeners want us to chop up. And the first that I have to ask you is the announcement that Kawhi Leonard has signed a deal with New Balance. He is now the face of New Balance shoes. and the memes and the Twitterverse just went nuts. They were showing the lines outside of the geriatric lines outside of senior homes saying, this is the crowd waiting for those Kawhi ones to drop. But in all seriousness, how do you feel? Look, you get a signature shoe, Klay Thompson got one with Anta. I think JaVale McGee had one at one point. I don't know if it was Li Ning, but it was with a Chinese shoe. Dwayne Wade went overseas to get one. Not that New Balance is overseas, but it feels like it's pretty far afield. Do you look at Kawhi and say, dude, way to get it done? Or do you look at it and go, you were a finals MVP? You've been a two-time defensive player of the year? New Balance? Bruh, really? That's better than Jordan Brand?
Well, he's going from the penthouse to the outhouse, and we're going to talk about style here. I mean, come on, he's coming down from Jordan Brand. But the one thing about Jordan Brand is that they don't want to pay you. They want to let you have it with swag. Right. How many Jordans do you want? And that's only just better advertising for them, right. Obviously. Right. So Kawhi and Uncle Dennis just said we're not having it. And I think New Balance is on the rise, man. If anything, I'm talking about New Balance more today. Even jokingly or not, and then. If they come up with a decent shoe, they could be rolling. Hopefully he doesn't get the Steph Curry Under Armour dad shoes, but Under Armour's made a splash and an impact. So, I mean, we know they'll be comfortable.
So that's where, before we move on, I don't want to spend too much time here, but obviously Puma's gotten back into the game. We've got New Balance joining the game. Under Armour's there. Adidas is there. Nike is there. We have more brands jumping into the shoe game with the NBA. Why do you think that is? And brands that aren't necessarily, I mean, obviously Puma had a history, but New Balance has no connection. What would be the appeal for a brand like New Balance to get into this game?
Can we insert money sound right here? Can we see somebody just throwing money in the air? That's the tease. Are you gonna pass up on that money, Rick? Me and you would sign New Balance in a heartbeat.
No. I'm not saying from Kawhi's end. I'm saying from New Balance's end.
Look,
why would you want to jump into a game that to me already seems crowded?
The greatest league? We're visible. We're not football players. You see our face. And think about Kawhi Leonard. Every time Kawhi Leonard sneezes, he's growing into that role. And let alone Kawhi come and play in LA or New York, a big market. So you're following that presence. If you're New Balance, It's a no-brainer.
Do you read this as a indicator? Oh, he's going to LA. You don't sign. New Balance doesn't sign Kawhi. And I haven't seen numbers, so I don't know what it is, but New Balance doesn't sign Kawhi for him to play in Canada. And no knock on my friends up in Toronto or that organization. To me, you've put together a great team. I love the city. It's not about that. I'm talking about business. And I'm talking about New Balance. And you have the face of your shoe line. How much credence do you give the idea that the New Balance would only do this if they knew he was going to LA?
I mean, you got to read into it. It's definitely a factor because, you know what, honestly, I don't know. They may have a Canadian market that they're really huge with. I think either way, you get a country or you get two of the biggest cities. So if he stays in Toronto, you got the whole country. Yeah. You get the whole country, the whole darn country. But if he comes to LA or New York, I don't know how much of a factor that is. I think just if you're going to make a splash, any other best player is really already taking. If we're gonna run down our top 5 list and we're gonna talk about performance, LeBron, Durant, Curry, Anthony Davis, these guys are gone. They're gone already. So Kawhi is next up, and Kawhi has a chance to make some noise. So, I think it's a no-brainer.
Normally, I would laugh at the idea that you're trying to take over the basketball shoe market in Canada, but I just had this conversation with Nick Stauskas about the Canadian national team. They got, Sauce Castillo. They've got quite a roster. They have so many NBA players now that are eligible to play for Canada that they may have to cut some NBA players. And we're talking Andrew Wiggins, Gilgeous Alexander, Stauskas, Kelly Olynyk, Tristan Thompson, Jamal Murray. They got a crew.
Now they got some guys, and then the Brooks kid from Memphis,
Dylan Brooks,
he's Canadian. Yeah, huh?
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
I played against him in the Pan Americans. Yeah, they
Corey
had a
Joseph.
decent. Corey Joseph. Yeah. I think they squeeze out 12. They're right on the number of 12.
Yeah, but I mean
you're telling me Sauce might get cut? Sauce didn't play.
Don't knock my boy. Don't knock my boy Sauce. He's now a friend of the program.
That's my Rook, right?
Dude. Oh, is that right?
That's my I remember when he got the name Sauce Castillo.
He looked terrified in Sacramento, and when he dropped that 24 in the first game against the Lakers this year, that's why I had to have him on the podcast. Because I was like, this looks like a different guy than I saw in Sac or Philly. I didn't really pay attention to him in Brooklyn. And he looks like he's found a home in Portland. He looks like a different cat. And I figured when you're as good as a shooter as he was at Michigan, how do you come to the league and suddenly look like you don't want to shoot the basketball?
He's grown a lot, man. I mean, dude, if I honestly, like with Nick, he was on the pace. If you looked at him, he wasn't going to be in the NBA.
Yeah, no doubt.
Longer. He literally was not going to be. And it was a toxic, heavily toxic environment.
Well, in Sac?
Yeah.
I know.
Man.
See, but that's the thing. I mean, there are so many guys that go by the boards and people label them as a bust. And I'm like, 90% of the players that come into the league, it's a matter of fit. Where do you start? This week's podcast guest, Kyle Anderson, going to the Spurs, to appreciate a guy who plays with the intangibles that Kyle plays with and plays with a high basketball IQ, you couldn't find a better place for him to go. And he had to scuffle, and he ended up going down to Austin, what was then the D League, a number of times as a rookie. But he had the opportunity to show that he could play at the NBA level. And I don't know that he would have had that opportunity to play in a system that could showcase that capability in a lot of other places. And he's not the exception. He's the rule. You got to be in the right place at the right time. Who drafts you and how smart they are and how you fit in their system can mean everything to whether you are, a rookie salary scale and out, or you're actually signing a decent second contract.
No, man. System is literally everything. You're hearing this from a system player. I can tell you when you play with Rajon Rondo and Jason Kidd, you look at a heck of a lot better than when you play with some other point guards who I don't want to name. It did look disrespectful, okay? But you just look better, especially my position. It's the difference between being on the floor and grabbing a rebound or two, or being on the floor and having 5 or 6 dunks. Everybody's, man, he's great.
Right.
This guy's amazing.
Right.
When you're playing in the molasses lineup of the Grizzlies, the grit and grind. I've been in it. You're going to appreciate Kyle Anderson, and he's having a spectacular year, and it's not points, but you don't look at them for points. You look at them for winning.
Right. No, it was a fun conversation. For those who aren't subscribing, subscribe on iTunes or wherever you can find the podcast. Rate and review us, and you'll get a chance to win some swag. But you also, if you subscribe, you won't miss a single episode, like my interview with Kyle, which was fascinating. He discovered his Chinese relatives, that he's got Chinese relatives, and thought it might open the door for him playing for the Chinese national team. And
I don't know if they're going for that.
Yeah, they're not going for that, but but he explored it, and just the idea that you have these distant relatives on the other side of the world, and he went and visited them, was a profound experience for him. Yes. Every house he went to, they said they set fireworks off.
Oh, legit.
Can you imagine? Just crazy. Anyway, so we got a couple other things that I want to get to. We talked about Kawhi's shoes. Denver got revenge against the Lakers. Now, this was in Denver. We were dismissing the Nuggets as imposters as a result of the beatdown that they took from the Lakers. Primetime game. This was the show out game, and they didn't show out. They didn't show up. Now they turned the tables. What do you make of this? Is this just your line that, it's tough to beat the same team twice? Or did the Nuggets show you something? And if so, what?
So for one, let's just put this out. The Nuggets are a solid team. They're a good team. It's just when we talk about championship, when we want to place them in the West over a couple of these teams, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
But they're a good, solid team. young nucleus. They're growing. They're getting better. But if I had a Lakers series, if they're in a series, they match up in the playoffs, they don't have a chance. If this is the 3-6 matchup somehow, some way, I don't know who's on what side, Denver doesn't have a chance. It's not going to work. But you know what I like? I like what they're doing. They've improved. I don't know. Did you hear what Mike Malone said?
No.
He said, look, he said Celtics fans, Laker fans, Sixer fans, come in our house and you could take this L. Yes.
Really?
He's trending. Mike Malone, my former coach. He is trending right now. And that's Mike Malone. That's Mike all day. I love it. You see Jamal Murray waving bye-bye. Bye-bye. Yeah. You know, that's their MO, man. That's what they do. And if you're Denver, that's got to be you, you know?
Yeah. One of the other stories that's come up this week is Markelle Fultz and the Sixers looking to move him. Is there a landing place? I think the last time you and I spoke, we were talking about John Wall and the possibility of him going someplace else. I don't put this in the same category. First of all, can we agree? Markelle Fultz, everybody says they look at teams, they talk like Orlando and Phoenix, teams that need a point guard. Markelle Fultz ain't no point guard. He's not a point guard. Newsflash. Well, he ain't no point guard.
I got two intriguing teams for you. I really want to see what you think about this. Phoenix isn't intriguing because the expectations would not be there for one.
Yeah.
That he has in Philadelphia. When you're seeing, Jason Tatum on the same side as you, you're seeing Simmons and Embiid. It just
send him west.
It's ugly. It's ugly. Okay, it doesn't work. And then Dragon Bender. He's not even playing, bro.
Yeah.
And he's a top draft pick. So, both teams maybe can revitalize their top picks' careers. There's a young guy, a change of scenery is good because you don't have any blemishes on your record. You're the new kid in school, bro. You got to love that, Rick. And another team, Cleveland Cavaliers, they're going young and they've got some old guys that they want to get rid of. So I think if I'm putting in a lot of calls to Cleveland and saying, if not shoot, heck, I take JR. JR is tough as nails. JR Smith is a winner in the NBA.
See, here's the thing. You've talked up the deal for Philly in almost all of these instances. I don't know what Markelle Fultz is. I don't know why I would want to acquire him. What is he? How good do you think he can still be? I am not. He plays too high for me. It takes him there's a lot of D'Angelo Russell there, and where he's sneaky good and he can do some things that kind of catch your eye, but there's no consistency and there's way too many holes. And I don't see in any way in which he makes the game better for others. He's a guy that when he's hot, he's going to put up 18 or 20 and people, maybe he's better than we thought he was. But one, does it end up in W's? And two, is anybody else benefiting for the numbers that guy is putting up? I don't see it right now with Fultz.
And it's tough. And I bring up Philly and Cleveland because you just got to take away expectations.
Yeah.
And if you're trading Dragon Bender for him,
what's the loss?
Both teams have just given up. Okay, both teams have given up on their guy. It's essentially a wash. And Cleveland has they got no expectations right now.
Right.
But if there's a guy you want to dump like J.R. Smith, there's no loss there either.
Yeah.
There's no loss. You send him home.
Yeah, I'm with you. But there's in those situations right now, I don't know where the chemistry is. I'd be concerned about Markelle because what I've seen with him in Philadelphia over the last when he was playing before he shut it down, as I mentioned this on the podcast previously, is I see a guy who's playing for himself. And considering the high expectations and goals that the Sixers have and the number of players, the quality of players around him, dude, I don't need you trying to show out right now. I'm all for you kind of getting your swag back and being able to play, but we're too good and our goals are too high for you to make this all about you. And that's what scares me a little bit about bringing Markelle Fultz into my team is that it's going to be the Isaiah Thomas thing. Like, I didn't get enough respect and I need to get that money and let me show you how good I am. Dude, I can already tell you, you're not good enough to get me to where I need to go by you playing that way. If you were, you wouldn't now be on my team.
You bring a guy like that off the bench, right?
Yeah, I suppose. But again, what's that going to do for the chemistry of your team? You think Markelle Fultz is going to be happy.
I haven't seen one bad report or one teammate not really cheer for that kid.
That's
like,
true.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's
like
true.
They've had his back, and normally the guy like that, we're not really for him, and you haven't heard anything, at least from teammates, that was negative, because that's the truth. The organization has an agenda, you know what I'm saying? But when the teammates have his back, I don't see anything bad.
That's
with
a good
Markelle.
point. That's a really good point. By the way, so Jimmy Butler's been there. He's hit a couple game winners, but overall, it's not like the Sixers have taken off. I mean, they've had some disappointing losses. They've eked out some wins that you didn't expect to be so close. Give me your temperature of the Sixers right now with Jimmy Butler.
They desperately need another shooter in that lineup. They've had to put J.J. Redick in that role. And I think there's still some growing, because you insert a guy like Jimmy Butler, then you say, Jimmy, we want you to play team basketball. We want you to reel it back in, because in Minnesota, he just got to the point where he's like, I got to go get mine, So they're still going to have to learn each other, which is good, because you got to think they're only going to play better as they go down the line. Wilson Chandler just got back. So there's a number of guys over there that are still figuring it out. And Brett Brown's one of my favorites, man. So I think they're in a really good place. Do I necessarily place them over Toronto right now or Boston? No, but it's not far-fetched that they compete come playoff time. And that's what this move was for. It wasn't for now, Rick. It was for the later.
Yeah, I think it makes them better as a playoff team, for sure. Does it make them better than Boston or Toronto? Even in a perfect scenario, I can't picture that. I just can't. Because for everything that Jimmy...
scenario?
Because for everything that Jimmy Butler brings you, there's still the question of, I don't have to guard Ben Simmons 15 feet away from the basket.
Well, you got a guy. Listen, it's not about guarding Ben Simmons. I'm with that. I'm not high on Simmons either. When it comes, he's not LeBron. He's not those guys. But you got another creator in Jimmy Butler, and that's why Jimmy came, because Simmons is not that guy.
No, but Simmons can't space the floor. If you're going to have Simmons on the floor at the same time as Jimmy, it means I got one more defender where I don't have to stay home.
I'll lift Embiid. He can knock it down a corner three and put him in the dunker. We used to put Rondo in the dunker. Rondo would play in the dunker, and Bass and KG would lift. So there's creative things that you can do around that. Are they willing to do that?
Yeah.
And then you can put the ball in his hands. But no, I hear you. Simmons cuts. He does things, but you get the experience, Yeah. I'm not mad at it. I don't love it. I'm not in love with it. I hear what you're saying, but I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. No. And nor am I. Speaking of coaches, we've seen two teams now that had their coaches back in a big way. The New York Knicks upset the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis when David Fizdale goes back there for the first time. Big emotional comeback win for the Knicks. We saw the Detroit Pistons do the same thing with Dwayne Casey going back to Toronto. How much value is there in and I don't even know what the lasting power is. Is it one game? Like when you read those situations, is the connection between the players and those particular coaches, their affinity for him, their affection for him, how much of a difference can that make over a course of a season? As opposed to just, hey, we want to get this game for you, coach, because we know it means a lot to you.
Man, I saw Fizz talk, man. And if you've ever been a part of a team, you've ever coached, you've ever been in a workplace, you've ever gone through a grind, and you see your coworkers, you see your young guys, these kids like fight for you, like it is moving, man. You had to feel that, man. You had to feel that. And if you're any type of competitor, that had to have touched your heart. Because as men, we suppress our feelings like so much. And then when you see Fizdale, it's very humbling that you see how much it meant to those kids, because you see how much you mean to them in those moments, and it was just a beautiful, that was the shining point of the year, honestly, for me. And they said, this is for you, coach. So I can't say enough about that moment in sports for New York.
For those who may not have heard, this is what Fizz had to say after the Knicks pulled off the upset against the Grizzlies.
Coach, I know you said you were treating this as just another game. You're at peace with this situation, but your players told me, Emmanuel Mudiay in particular, that they wanted to win this one for you. They wanted to have your back the way you have their back. What does it mean to have your players standing behind you like that?
You get me emotional because I can't put it into words. I really didn't want this game to be about me at all, because they would just started playing some good basketball, and I didn't want to take the focus off of that, of us chopping our tree. And the effort they put for me and what they said to me after the game. Just I love these kids. Manuel came up to me, him and Tim both just was hugging me and telling me it was for me, and then they all came in and I lost it. And, because it's just some good kids in that locker room playing hard and trying to get better, and that meant a lot to me that they put forth that effort with me in mind.
First of all, I appreciate what Fizz and Scott Perry, what they're doing in New York. I hope James Dolan stays out of the way and lets those two men do their work, because I think they're a great combination. I think they're being so smart. Scott, look, he did it in Detroit. He did it in Oklahoma City. He knows players. He knows dogs. He knows, and he's not afraid to tell you what's up. I'm really excited that he's finally getting a chance to have an unfettered hand and show what he's capable of doing. I like Steve Mills there too. I don't know what his role among the three is at this point, how big it is, but I truly appreciate what they're doing. That said, I also love that JB Bickerstaff, who's been an interim coach in a number of places, was given a chance by the Grizzlies to have a training camp, to be the guy. He's not the substitute teacher. And JB made a really shrewd decision. He looked at, Fizz got there and he was all about, we got to play the modern style. And he and Marc Gasol immediately butted heads because of that. And I understand why they did it, because Zach Randolph was washed. Tony Allen was done. Like the grit and grind, the two of the key parts of the grit and grind were done and headed elsewhere, if not already gone. And so it made sense, but you still had Marc Gasol. And while Marc is mobile for a guy of his size, he still likes to play at a slower tempo. And JB came in and he made training camp all about, we're just going to work on defense because we got Mike Conley and Mark. We don't need to get too tricky when it comes to our offense. We need to be able to shut people down, and we're going to play at a pace that our vets are comfortable and put shooters around them. And I think they were shrewd in getting guys like Marshawn Brooks and Garrett Temple, Kyle Anderson. They put together a nice little squad, but I love that JB Bickerstaff has been given the opportunity to show that he can coach in this league, because there were so many people that would bust it on his ass when he mopped up in Houston, and I just felt like, you don't understand. You got no shot. You're coming in as the substitute teacher with a team that has these kind of players. You got no shot. So good on him. I'm glad ultimately it's working out for everybody.
Yeah, we interviewed JB today, and the one thing he said that was vital, that stuck out, he said that they made a plan before the year started to keep the culture in Memphis of the grit and grind in the way that they work, and it's paid off. And I liken it to this. When Golden State first started being Golden State, I remember playing against them, you'd be like, man, what the heck is this? They would run faster, they would play small, they would take bad shots. It would screw up your kind of your bearings in the NBA of what you knew. What the heck? Yeah. And Memphis is doing the same thing to teams now, because everyone's trying to play fast. Teams are catching up to Golden State. That's just a fact, because they just don't shock you the way that they used to. And then when you try to play fast, you get so far out of your element. Man, I haven't shot 20 times in a game before. Now Memphis is screwing everybody up. Yeah. Because you play against them and teams are just taking horrible shots. They're not touching the ball. And they're like, yo, what is this? It's the complete opposite.
Yeah. It's funny when they played the Clippers, and I think ultimately the Clippers ended up eking that game out. But I listened to a lot of that game on the radio, and the play-by-play guy was saying, this is what the Grizzlies do. They make you uncomfortable. And you could just kind of the seesaw of that game where the Clippers kept trying to, let's get this thing moving. And ultimately they eked it out at the end. Let's be honest. Grizzlies, you worked that game. The Grizzlies got a
game. I wish you had to listen to the video.
I did. No, I listened to you. I listened to you as well.
I messed it.
I was in the car. I told you I didn't listen and see all of it, but I listened and watched some of it. And you have to admit, though, the Grizzlies got an awful whistle in that game. Mike Conley fouling out in that game was ridiculous.
No, it was the right call. Avery Bradley made
there was two calls prior to that.
Oh, he's an elite defender, bro. And he closed out on Mike Conley, who can drive either hand predicts the way he's going. And right when he felt that contact, it was an unreal play. No, it was legit. I watched it in slow motion, Rick. It was legit.
I'm not sure I can give you.
No, I watched it in slow motion.
It was ridiculous. I saw it too. It was ridiculous bad.
Oh, no.
Right?
Hey,
that's what
Rick,
you're saying.
No, it was good when you extend the arm because he didn't think Avery was going to be there. Any other defender in the league,
but did he extended the arm? But did he knock Bradley over? That's the distinction. Bradley went down, but did he? If
you're going to slide, it don't take much, man. When you're moving full speed or you're going to slide, and I got you off balance, and I push off, you're gonna dip.
We'll have to agree to disagree. In the meantime, you know what? That's it for today's episode of Bucher and Hollins, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast network. Don't forget to follow Ryan on Twitter at @TheRyanHollins. You can also see him on ESPN. You can watch and hear him on the Clippers broadcasts, among other places. And you can always find him here. Drop us a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Screenshot the review and tweet it to us at Bucher Friends, and you'll be entered for a chance to win some swag. All right. In our next episode, it is sportsbetcollective.com time, where we give you our picks for the over-under and against the spread for every game on Friday night. We'll be giving that to you by Friday noon. And last week, I was 18-8. Ryan was 17-9. So this is a place that if you are wagering, this is a place you want to check in. Our advice here is free. It costs you like $1 on sportsbetcollective.com. You can find my stuff there, but it's free here once a week. Can't beat it. We're the best. At least we were last week.
We made money. We made money. Hey, you making money.
We made big cash. He's Ryan. I'm Rick. We'll talk to you tomorrow.